Thanks for downloading this episode of the Nerdball Podcast. This episode is brought to you by whatever you want it to be. If you want to be brought to you, if you want to bring this episode to people, hit me up, the nerdballpodcast@gmail.com. I will advertise for you on this podcast, this space right now, right? The first few seconds can be yours for a small nominal fee. Thanks to everyone always for downloading, sharing, subscribing, reviewing this podcast. I'd like to get the YouTube. We've been getting a lot of YouTube views recently, which is cool. I don't know. It could be taken away from the listens, but either way, however you're getting this podcast and consuming this podcast, continue to do so in whatever app you're on or thing you're using. Subscribe to the podcast there, review it wherever you're at, because it lets people know that we're out here. So keep doing that. Get those YouTube subscribers up to 150. I have over 700 followers on Instagram personally, and my Facebook page is crazy too. So if you're on there and you're hearing this, just hit subscribe on YouTube. Everyone's on YouTube. Maybe not everyone has an account, but if you got one, hit that bell, and I appreciate it. At some point, this podcast is going to blow up, and I want everyone to be involved in that. A lot of you have been on the ground floor here for a while. We just finished 200, just got through 200 episodes, so I appreciate you all for being there along for the ride. This episode is great. It's with a coworker, friend of mine, and she was gracious enough to come on. Really great audio and video. If you're not watching this on YouTube, check it out. This is a solid episode all around. So I appreciate you guys downloading it and doing all the other stuff. So without further ado, here's my guest.
Hi, I'm Jami Lynn, and this is the Nerdball Podcast. This is the Nerdball Podcast with Lorenzo Melcher.
Great job, Jami Lynn. Thank you for coming on my podcast today.
I'm happy to be here.
You're the ever elusive Jami Lynn as a guest. We tried. Well, part of it was you were nervous about it, and then part of it was we did have you scheduled, and then you guys are doing really well in tennis, so we had to move that around. So now you're here.
I'm here because I'm not doing well in tennis anymore.
No, it's because it's winter. That was outside tennis.
It was outside tennis, yes.
Yeah. So the first thing I always ask people is, what is something you're nerding out about? Something you're super into, either if it's an old hobby, a new hobby, anything, multiple hobbies, whatever it is. What's something that gets you away from basically get you away from work that you can just hang out and chill?
Well, currently it is hate week. So Michigan and Ohio State are both undefeated right now. And after their wins yesterday. So that's all I am concerned about right now is college football. It's all I think about. It's my wardrobe for the week. It is my away from everything. Don't even think about anything else.
Do you ever, and when this podcast is going to come out after the game. But do you ever, are you able to watch college football like Michigan with people, or do you have to watch by yourself?
I can watch any game. So I could watch, MAC, or I can watch any team play all by myself, but I do like to be in crowds. Now, for Michigan football, I do not like to be out at a bar, out at, getting food. And if they're playing Ohio State, if they're playing anybody else, I can be out, I can watch, and I can be doing other things. When they're playing Ohio State, I will be at home, and it will dictate the rest of my year. It will dictate how I go.
Gosh.
It will. So I do watch alone. I don't do those really big Ohio State Michigan parties. They're awesome. Just don't invite me. I'm not going. I will be at home watching by myself.
I love those parties in college because I don't like either of the teams. So I would live it up, because if something was going poorly for Michigan, I would just be in the face of Michigan fans. If something was going poor for Ohio State, I would go the other way. I didn't care. My team's Texas, so it doesn't bother me.
Okay.
But I did
my
enjoy
fourth ranked team. My fourth ranked team. Who cares?
I did enjoy those parties though. It was fun. So when you're watching the game by yourself, with your animals around you, do you are you a yeller? Will you yell at the TV?
Oh, I'm not a thrower, thank goodness.
Okay.
Yes, I'm a yeller. I'm a sweater. I'm a person who's like, I have to change. They didn't get a first down. Like new
Oh,
hoodie is getting
yep.
like
Oh,
I'm
we
suit.
did. Oh my god. So we did that when they were the Cleveland Indians at the time. When they were in the playoffs, we were all sitting at my friends had a house. There's four of them that lived together in BG, and one of our buddies who didn't live there, he was just there like me. We're just hanging out. Went to the restroom, and the Indians started doing really good, and we made him stay in the restroom for the rest of the
Yes.
games.
Oh
But yeah,
yeah.
so I can relate to that. Yeah.
I have like a sectional in my like gaming viewing room at home, and I'll start on one seat with like a beverage, and then the next seat I'm like have a snack, but I can't. I have to be moving. I'm fidgeting. Absolutely cannot. I'm up. I'm down. I'm like when it's getting intense, like when you're playing video games where you have to like put your knees on
Mm.
your elbows on your knees with the controller. That's me. I'll mute the TV because I can't stand Gus or Joel talking. Like I gotta
Love
go.
Gus. I love Gus.
Really?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't. He's just. I like his excitement. I think,
Yeah.
but I can understand. I would imagine you like Gus a little more when Michigan's not involved.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
accurate.
yeah.
And but then Joel Klatt's the opposite. He's very, he's for Michigan. He's not as biased. So everyone can appreciate Joel Klatt mostly.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah. I
Do you
mute him too. I mute him too.
do you have a favorite like a football food that you always have to have when you're watching football, or a snack or something?
Yeah, all of the stuff that is so bad for you, those are football's calories. Like
Okay.
yesterday, yes, everyone was saying, yesterday the game against Maryland is a trap game, and I hate it's always a trap game before Ohio State when you're undefeated. It's
It
in the
doesn't matter
same.
who they're playing. It's always that.
It's a trap game, yeah.
Yeah.
And so I had macaroni and cheese bites, taquitos, jalapeno poppers, all the garbage food. Oh yeah, who cares? It's garbage food,
You got
but
the
I
air
don't.
fryer working overtime.
Absolutely. Yes. And I had like 15 different dipping sauces because I need variety.
Sure, sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, my kids don't. They need ranch, and that's it. So,
Do
although
you?
Mateo's been uh mixing things recently. Like when we got, I think we got like McDonald's or something, and he had ranch and ketchup and mustard mixed together.
That
Oh,
it's a special sauce.
yeah, yeah. What were we gonna say? Sorry.
Do you, when you watch Texas or football, or I guess the Cowboys, even though I'm college football, but
Yeah.
do you can you eat and do all that stuff too? Or do you get up and pace?
Um. So here's what I learned about myself is, um, I was like I want my teams to do well, and sometimes we plan food around it. Like today, actually, we're going to my parents' house at 1 to watch the Cowboys game, and my dad's buying some food, and we're gonna hang out watch there. And then at 4:30, we're going to my in-laws to watch the Bills game, and they're gonna have food there. A lot of times we'll end up at my in-laws just because they live 3 houses down. But before I had kids, super invested. I'd yell at the TV.
Yeah.
I always thought about, I wasn't a thrower either, but I like those bad call bricks. Have you ever seen those bad call bricks? Where
No.
it's a foam brick that you can throw.
Yes.
It's called a
Yes.
bad call brick. Um, and then but I was really, and I would like, okay, we gotta, no one can bother me right now. I want to watch the game. And then when I had my son, when I had Mateo, it was almost overnight where I changed from like this is life and death to um it's a fourth down. The Cowboys need to get this or the game's over. Oh, I got to go feed Mateo lunch though. Like
Oh yeah.
kids changed it for me. Like I'm still like I still want my teams to do well, and I'm really invested. Actually, it's starting to ramp up again because now Mateo is asking to watch his games, so it's
Mhm.
starting to ramp up a little bit more. But it did change once I had kids. It changed kind of. It was like perspective thing. Like, all right, this is isn't the end of the world. I got other things I got to do. I mean, there was one time we all went shopping and had lunch, and it was the Texas Oklahoma game, and I didn't even watch any of it. So like
I
that's how
was
much
more
it changed.
invested. I'm the person who I'll like run in the like on commercial breaks and then hurry up and come back because I'm not going to miss anything. But like
Mm.
one of my really good friends, he just has it on in every location. TV in his kitchen, TV in his like he has it in the breezeway outside by his garage. Like if we're watching
Mm.
inside, he's but he's a huge Ohio State fan. So it's like I understand
Mhm.
the level, but it's college football fandom, in my opinion, is you can love football just as much, but NFL versus college fandom, it's different. It is
Yeah.
totally different for me. Well, the Patriots are garbage this year, and I could always count on like if I'm let down Saturday because it does dictate my day. I would just watch the Patriots on Sunday and it would give me that boost. Well,
Now
now
you have
it's
double.
the
You could have
opposite.
double dose. Yeah,
I could
it is the opposite now. Yes.
it is the opposite now. But I've been through the ringer with Michigan, but now I'm happy all Saturday and then I go to Sunday and it's like I'm thankful that the Patriots have a bye week this week. They're doing so poorly.
Yeah, but you could just go and get and open your jewelry box of your all your replica Super Bowl rings. Open it up and you can just see
Yeah.
all those.
Yeah, you too. Yeah.
Um, if I'm being very stereotypical, how did you become such a big college football fan? Because typically women aren't like as invested as you are.
I when growing up, it was huge in my house as far as like everyone was a Michigan fan. I didn't know anything else but Michigan football.
Mm-hmm.
And then as I started to get older, I and being like exposed to being able to go out and watch games and that sort of thing, all of my friends were Ohio State fans. I was like, what's the fuss about? Okay, you wear this color, I wear that color. Um, but it wasn't until college really that it hit. So 15-ish years ago where I had to I wasn't just immersed by a bunch of people I know. So it got me out of my comfort zone to meet people.
Mm-hmm.
Like on everyone went home on Saturdays. The college I went to was very much I lived in the dorm and it was very much everyone went home on weekends. So I would like kind of walk the halls and they had football on in the lobbies. And if you wanted to meet people and you wanted to do things, you were watching football on Saturday and football on Sunday. So I went to Eastern Michigan for undergrad, and you were accepted as a Michigan. I found my people as a Michigan fan. Um, but no one seemed to have the hate for Ohio State though. And where like, being here in Ohio, the only hate is Michigan, Ohio, Michigan. It is the greatest
Mm-hmm.
rivalry in all of sports, yes. But when you get to Michigan, they want to beat Michigan State more than any, like it's an in-state rivalry.
Yeah.
So for me, I was like, uh, Michigan State, I never really cared. I mean, sure, I didn't want them to like lose, but I never cared. But when I got there, it was not until college where I went nose deep. I was completely it was over it. But I do that all the time. If I find something I like, I go like I just jump in. I'm not gonna dilly dally. I am going full force.
What is something else that you could point to that same trait that you can attribute that to?
Tennis.
Okay.
That's what I nerd out about all
God,
year round.
tennis tennis is so boring to me.
Oh my God. It is I can see how it's boring to watch. Yes. But have you ever picked up a racket and hit up like just hit a ball?
Yeah, it's so hard too. Like yes, I can hit the ball, but if I want to like really smoke it, it's gonna go everywhere. And if I just like patty cake it, sure I can get over the net. But it's a
Yeah.
difficult sport. Which as a coach, I can understand like the intricacies of it and how it is can be difficult and certain things you got to do and the backhand and forehand, like all that stuff. Like as a
Right.
kid, I would watch it all the time because I liked Andre Agassi and Pete Sampras. Like like watching those guys.
Mhm.
I just it's never really been in my life. I remember I grew up around Rogers High School and
Okay.
they had a tennis court there and we'd always go there because when people were done playing tennis they would throw their tennis balls away. So and we as kids we're like, why are there just tubes of tennis balls that are seemingly like really good? So we would bring our wooden rackets and hit balls over there, and they had a wall that you could hit the ball against. So we'd do that too, and but we'd always go there and find these tennis balls and mess around with them.
You're aging yourself with the wooden racket.
Well, it was just in our garage. Like I don't know
I'm
where it came from, but it was just in our garage. Like we had
yeah.
just ran we had rackets, we had a hockey stick. None of us played hockey. We had random golf clubs. Like we had just had all this sports stuff all the time.
I I was definitely one of those kids. We didn't have all the things because I grew up next door to a public park,
Mm.
but I was also like go outside and like find something to do.
Yeah.
So I would, always make friends with the kids who had the garage full of things. Like that's what it was.
Yeah.
Um, but I didn't find, I think I'm so invested in tennis now is because it's not just something to keep me busy when I'm not working. That's good for you. I have
Yeah.
super gym phobia. Like I'm so afraid of the gym, but so this keeps me active. Like it makes me feel like I'm doing something, like I'm working out. Um, but then,
Did something happen at the gym that, or you just,
well,
and I
when
guess you don't have to
I
answer that question if you don't want to, but
no, nothing. No, I mean many things happen. No, it's I always felt like I wasn't doing the right thing
Mm,
because I felt like I was always next to a gym expert. And like you always think they're judging you and truly they don't care any like, but if I
yeah.
was using like a piece of equipment wrong or poorly or I didn't do it as long or as fast or as effectively, then everyone says the hardest part is getting to the gym. Oh no, I can get there. I can get there just fine. And I have all the intent of working out. But then I see a marathon runner next to me on a treadmill. Absolutely not. So I'd go find weights and then I find,
This
a
bodybuilder.
bodybuilder. Absolutely not. So then I would find myself like in a corner just doing like stretching and which is, I mean, fine in itself, but then I'd leave. Like, nope, guess it didn't work out today. But finding tennis as an adult because I'd never played sports. I was never I would try out for certain team. I didn't have the athletic gene. Like I've accepted that I didn't have that. Uh so not playing sports when everyone as a kid, it's really nice as an adult to play sports and like be good at like it's clicking and
Yeah.
and so being good at something it feels good. Now first when I first started playing tennis, I was 100 pounds heavier.
Mm.
I'd never hit a racket, like I've never swung a racket before. And I took an adult intro class, but I asked the lady, I said, it was at a club in town, a local club. I kept seeing a sign. It's the pace setter gym or soccer complex that's connected to tennis. And I kept seeing a sign at Wildwood that said adult intro start today, no experience necessary. So I called the number. I'm like, what do you mean by no experience? Like ex high school kids who haven't played, like what does no experience look like? And then I'd hang up. And then I called the next week because I drove by it and it had been like, you know what, just take the plunge. Like you deserve it. So I called again. On the third week when I called, the gal remembered me and she goes, ma'am, I think I talked to you a few weeks in a row. Why don't you just come in and I'll show you around the facility? I was like, absolutely not. I don't go anywhere where I don't know the parking situation. I don't know when I walk in the door, am I going to know where to go? Who do I ask? That's not happening. Well, I did. I went in and I took the adult intro class. Like I went and looked at the adult intro class and they were awful. I'm like, I can be awful.
Oh, the people, not the class, the
the
people.
the class was great, but the
Yeah.
people were horrendous.
Yeah.
So when I looked, I was like, I can absolutely fit in with that. I can be that horrendous crowd.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
they're my people. Um, and so I took the class. It was 6 weeks. It was only $75.
Oh.
We were all garbage. And then I took it again. And then I took it for a third time and they finally came up to me. They're like, Jami Lynn, you have advanced. You cannot take this class anymore. You're too good. I was like, I am too good.
Were
So
you waiting for someone to like allow you to move on, or you just didn't want to move on?
no, because then it was comfortable. Why would I? Why
Oh
would I?
yeah.
Why would I go like put myself into something where there was discomfort?
Yeah.
And so I didn't. I stopped after that. It was 3 sessions of 6 weeks. I stopped and they never saw me again. And then they reached out. They're like, hey, we haven't seen you. I'm like, oh, yeah, you told me I can't take this class. So they started offering me other things.
Mm,
And then it just full send. Like I am
nice.
shotgunning tennis.
That's really cool. And we've talked a lot about that. And last year, your team, who you were the captain of, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, your team did really well, right? You
Yeah.
went to like like super states or something.
Super states. So yes, my team went undefeated in regular season, and I captained and coached. Um, but I would say more of like emotionally coached. I didn't like I never tell people what they're doing right or wrong. I'm super novice still. Like I don't have that, but
Like the kind
they
of stuff like you got this, or keep going.
oh, I was their biggest supporter, and it's all women my age.
Hmm.
It's stay I had like a 5 or 6 stay-at-home moms. I had people who are working 9 to 5s like me, and so they're all at my same level.
Hmm.
And I was absolutely their cheering section. We went undefeated, and then we go to districts, so we just play other teams in the area, and
Hmm.
then we beat them. We go to states, and in tennis, states in Ohio is Northwest Ohio versus Cleveland versus Columbus. But Columbus is huge. That includes like Cincinnati. It's like everything south. Um,
Okay.
and then we beat them, and we go to the Midwest, and then we have to play the 5 Midwest states. And we did end up losing at that level, and we only lost by like we lost by one court. We had the same record as the winningest team, but we did not take the victory at that level. At the team I captained, I also played on a team, and they did take the title and beat all the other teams. But I was just a competitor on that team. I didn't spearhead it.
Did you ever think when you started you taking your intro class that you would be a captain slash coach of a team?
No, but it's because I was such when I first was in tennis, I was scared. I was nervous. I didn't know anybody, but I truly blossomed, like came out of my shell. I'm an introvert naturally. I am naturally very scared and anxious and introverted, but then when I am excited about something,
Hmm.
there's no stopping me. There's no end. I am just, beeline, and I take it so seriously. And I'm very type A when it comes to something I like.
Yeah.
And so I'm reliable, I'm accountable, and people lean on me. But no, absolutely never in a million years would have thought that one, people would be taking advice, anything athletic about me. But also I knew I'd make friends. I've always had an easy time making friends. Um, but I never thought I would like make it my personality.
Yeah.
And it is, and it's not a bad thing, but it's my personality.
Have you dragged other people into tennis, like friends and family, and like come try it out?
I have I've had yes, but then also just as a try this outlet, but if it doesn't work, like a couple of my girlfriends, they'll do it for fun, but they're not gonna, they have kids at home and they have that sort of
Mm.
thing. So they don't have the time to really put it in as much as I'm putting in. Um, but I can talk anybody's ear off about it. So when they're excited, I have to remind myself that if you're not also as invested, I can't make it make sense.
Yeah.
You can't understand how I'm thinking about it, all day long, or they see it as like surface level. And I always say like other like people who are just doing it for fun, they're playing checkers when I'm playing chess at this point. Like I am trying to strategically get better. I'm always challenging myself. So
I was gonna say something I forgot. I don't know what it was. It was something very profound. I can tell you that.
I bet.
Oh, that's what it was. When I get excited about something, like really it's podcasting right now. Like people ask me like one little question and then, and then I like just go off of like,
Yeah,
they probably didn't need to know or want to know all that stuff. It's like, but I'm excited about it. So I want you to like I just like vomit all this information. Like I want you to be excited about it too.
100%. And
Yeah.
I am so like it's so cool that you do this. And I think it's like I could never. I tried. I tried. I talked to you about wanting to do a
Yeah.
podcast, but I was so like it has to be so niche. And you're like, forget that. It doesn't need to be niche, and you
Yeah.
do what you want. Uh but I was only passionate about Big Ten football.
Yeah.
I wanted to talk Big Ten football. Um and I was afraid of not being funny enough. You've got that in the bag. I was worried about not what if I said something that's like controversial, or what if I'm I can't take negative feedback well.
Mm.
So if people are seeing it and they're like, you suck, or like, you're not, like, that point was, not right, or you said something incorrectly, I'd shut down. And like in tennis, I want the criticism because I can get better. But if it's like my opinion, how do you can't get a better opinion? I
Well,
don't.
yeah, yeah, and I agree with that, especially when it's opinion based. But as far as like at least you're having people engage with you, right? That's a big part of podcasting for me.
Even
Like
if
I
it's
love,
negative.
yeah, like I love doing this podcast.
Yeah.
um I don't get near the emails of this or engagement as I do with the Three Different Dads podcast, where I have people are emailing the show regular, like every episode we're reading something from the mailbag, like people are engaged in that one. But the nature of this one isn't as um like you don't engage as much in this one as if you, unless you have a question, or someone's like, hey, I think this person would be good on the podcast. But if you have an opinion based show, like it's gonna lead to people either agreeing with you or not agreeing with you. But that's that show. Then that's what it is. Like, here's my opinion about why why Iowa sucks and that whole division sucks. But that's just the opinion. Like, that's your opinion, and people will come back.
Yeah.
But at least there's engagement, and that's what you want when you're podcasting. You want engagement. There's
Right.
always going to be trolls, and there's nothing you can do about that. So
Yeah, but don't they boost your engagement? I mean,
exactly, yeah, yeah.
but
Actually, just sitting here, and I know we've talked about it. Sitting here, seeing your camera and your audio setup, I was like, I want to make a podcast with Jami Lynn, but I don't know what.
really,
Yeah, like because like right off the bat, like people like to hear good audio and they like to see good video. So like
yeah.
right away, you're like in more. Like the podcast is in more because of the setup. So
Okay.
whatever that is, Jami Lynn, we got to figure that out.
Yes. Hot takes. We'll just do all hot takes.
just
We'll
just random fruity pebbles is better than chocolate pebbles, that kind
y-
of stuff.
yes. Prove me wrong.
Yeah.
No, there is. So I'm super into like playing board games. I like to I like to be thorough about, or not. I like to be intentional about hanging out with people, and I don't. So I always, when I host or I have friends over, we're playing a game, and I always love introducing people to quick, easy games to play.
Yeah.
Now I can play board games and that sort of thing, but there is a game where it's just all about arguing, and I could never, but I love seeing people play it. The prompt will be, it'll be two people, you and I, and your prompt will be uh, a raptor with a lightsaber, and my prompt will be something, a tidal wave with Gandalf.
Yeah.
And you just have to argue who's better and get people to like vote for you. And it's called Superfights.
Okay.
The game is called Superfights.
Okay.
And I absolutely just sit back and I will be a person who's like, yeah, I kind of think that lightsaber person won, but I could never convince. If you were to tell me, no, that would never work because ABC, I'd be like, okay. Like, just wait. Like, okay. Yeah. Point,
Yeah.
check mark. It doesn't work.
Like, there's no rebuttal. Like, Jamie, that's not how this works. Like,
I could never
rebuttal.
convince. No, so I could never go into sales, because the moment I ask somebody, would you like to buy ABC product? It's pretty cool. And they're like, no, thank you. I'd be like, all right, bye. I'm not going to I could never. I could never.
Yeah. Superfights. It sounds fun. It's also, I feel like if you're better at like improv to begin with, you'd probably be really good at that too. But at least it gives you a situation or whatever you're fighting for. It gives you that, because you need something to start. But yeah, that's I like that game. We played I always forget what it's called, but it's a little round electronic thing, and you're on a team. You hit a button, a word comes up or whatever it is, and then you have to like describe it to whoever. Catchphrase. Yeah.
Elite. I am top tier at catchphrase. I'm telling you.
Like guessing or giving clues, or both?
Guessing, because you can say something. So my girlfriends, we just did it for like our little gathering, is if you give me one context clue, I'm just going to spit a bunch of stuff out. I'm not going to sit there and wait for you to give another, because if you can't, if you're stumbling, we're not both stumbling. I got you. I am a Robin, not a Batman. I'm a Robin, but I got you.
Yeah, that is a good. Yeah, I'd have to pay attention next time we see what teams do best. It's probably the ones that are just like firing everything. Like as soon as like
Yeah.
helmet, and then you just start just start firing stuff.
Yep.
The hardest ones are on there are like the multiple word ones. Like I know it's catchphrases, but sometimes there's just a word, but sometimes it's like a 4 or 5 word phrase, and you got to like try to get all these things out. You know.
Yes. How, and then they get more difficult as you go on. My girlfriends, we had truth serum. How do you get someone to guess truth serum? Like,
Oh,
it's,
yeah.
I, I did all the things.
Although
We,
immediately I would go my first thought was obviously 2 words. You would say blank or dare. So I feel like they could get truth or dare
yeah.
immediately.
Mhm.
And then you say okay, yes. And then maybe my first thought was like drink, potion, something. But yeah, that's a hard one.
That is a hard one.
Yeah.
And then the game I'm thinking of that is like a segue of catchphrase. It's like catchphrase in the beginning, and then you move on to just one word, and then you move on to acting it out. So then I then had to act out truth serum. Like, come on. It's a fun
Yeah.
game. You'd be really good at it.
Yeah.
It's called Monikers.
Monikers.
I'm telling you, I'm the board. I'm the
Man, I was
game
saying I
girl.
never even heard of that either of those games you talked
I
about.
know. Yeah, you're playing
Monikers.
Monopoly while I'm over here experiencing everything.
Monikers. We play this game called it's like Hue, like Hue, Hue Clues, I think. Where it's a giant board. I'm gonna look it up right now.
Yeah.
It's a giant board of squares. Yeah, hues and cues.
Okay.
A guessing game of colors and clues. So it's a giant board, and it has colors all over it. Like it goes like all the reds and then yellows. Like it just like they're all kind of very close to each other of
Sure.
what the similar color. So then you pick up a card. It has 3 colors on it, and then you pick one, and then you just say a word that you think best describes that color. So if it was like a light green, you might say apple, and then you take your little cone and you gotta like guess like okay they say apple that'd be like a terrible clue because apples are all different kinds of colors.
I was like,
um
red.
yeah, yeah. So the kids, when the kids do it, we give them more words,
Sure.
because as the giver you get points if they get it, so you want them to get the
Yeah.
color. Yeah. So then they try to guess, and then like if it was like light green, or you might say like if it was light green, you might say keys or limes, and then they try to figure it out, and then you get to say another color afterward, and then trying to narrow it down. But it's
Wow.
really cool because it is a good game for kids because they. And it's funny. We always got to remind Mateo like, hey, you realize you get more points if we guess it, right? Because he's always trying to make it real difficult.
Oh yeah. He
Like, man,
like doesn't want you to win. He doesn't want you
yeah.
to get it.
He's like, that's not the
Okay.
game. But it is a fun game. I mean, games at our house are fun for a little bit until Lillian doesn't win because she's super competitive. So
You don't let her win.
no, because when she doesn't win, but no, we do not let
Right.
her win. We
You
don't let
don't
her.
let her win.
No,
That
she's
is
9. She's not 4. Like she
those
can
are
figure it out.
that is one of the things all of my kids, all of my friends with kids, I always ask, that is a question I always ask people. I feel like I can judge people as like do we think the same if I'm like, do you let your kids win games? I mean, like arm wrestling, sure, but
Yeah,
like
yeah.
I have, and a lot of my like friends and my siblings, absolutely not. To an extent, yes, if they're learning or like you help them. What we do is like with my nieces and nephew, open hand. Like we'll go
Oh
around.
yeah.
Anyone who can play Settlers of Catan is also my people. Um, so we
I
will
don't know
play
about that.
open hand. We'll have open hand, and then you get like 3 chances with an open hand. But when we close hands up, like you're rolling, you're with us. So
Settlers of Catan. That sounds like a game that you need 8 hours to play.
oh, for sure, because there's so many expansions. So it's Catan is Catan is
Sounds very nerdy too.
you asked me to be here. You
Hell
get
yeah.
all my
Let's
nerd.
do it. Let's do it.
My weird is safe here.
There you go. That's a good shirt.
Yes. But there's like a bunch of expansions. It's like Risk meets so it's a settlement building game, but there's strategy, Risk. It is
Mm.
engaging, and it's not something you can just play to pass the time. It's something you have to be like involved in.
Like we are playing this
We
this
are
is what we're
playing
doing
this game.
tonight. Yeah.
Absolutely.
We are inside right now. Do you have like if you could pick one game, if be it one of those that we talked about or another game that like, this is the only game we can play? Like, do you have like a go-to game?
If it was video games, mind numbingly, I can play Animal Crossing forever and never get bored.
I
If
got
it,
I couldn't I tried to get in that during COVID. I just couldn't do it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, again, at full send, I was I was shotgunning Animal Crossing.
What
Um,
about that game is like do you enjoy?
so I would just like people who play, I also play like Xbox and that sort of thing. When there are achievements, like in a set thing, you need to get 10 achievements or you need to get ABs. If I didn't have that complete, then I was unsuccessful. So it was a matter of just completing everything possible and being able to beat the game. But
Got it.
also, I could play that game and also listen to a podcast, listen to an audiobook. So it didn't consume, I could be productive while playing still. When I play, a first person shooter game, that's all you're doing.
Yeah.
I can't grind where it's like to get an achievement in Halo, for example, you need to have this many headshots in this game. Okay, cool. If I'm one off, I cannot repeat the same map, I can't go back and just try again. That's not
Mm,
happening. So, games like Animal Crossing, where if you don't get it the first time, I wouldn't just keep playing it on repeat. I'd go back and do something else. You don't have to get to a certain point to move on. In Halo, if you cannot get past a certain point, you don't get to unlock the rest of the map, and you don't get,
mhm.
that that bugs me.
I can understand that because I feel that way too with so I used to play Zelda, the Breath of the Wild,
Okay.
and I downloaded two apps where they're basically walkthroughs, so I did not miss one thing. I knew how to like build all these things, and there was one app that was specific to finding whatever these things were that you had to find all these things. Like I really like back in the day, my brother would play Resident Evil, and you could buy books, walkthrough books, and page by page. I had one for a Pokemon game that I had where you just flip a page. All right, what's next? And just go down this list of what's next. And that I didn't want to miss anything.
You didn't want to stumble upon it yourself. You were okay with like not, you were okay with already knowing where it was
One thousand
rather than
percent.
finding it yourself.
Yes.
I am like that with spoiler movies, anything like that. I need to know I need to set myself up for it. I
Yeah.
need to prepare because I am anxious and that sort of thing. Um, but I'm in a book series right now where
The giant book, the
the
giant books that you
giant
have.
book.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. The two,
I,
you had two giant books at one time. Yeah.
yeah. And uh, I was looking at the book and I had to like close it. I'm like, I know that this person is going to do this thing, but they do it obviously to keep you invested, but it took everything out of me to not go to Google and say, is this who I think it is? And I didn't. But then I finally got to the point where I was right. I shut the book and I'm just like, I was right. Like I knew it. I kept
Stop.
saying, yeah, yes, touchdown, extra point, let's go. Like I was right,
That's fun.
and I do, yes, with books even too. Like I have to sometimes close them and like breathe and then go back into it. But back to your original question.
Yes.
Sorry, we got
Yes.
segue.
No, this is this is my mind in the podcast.
This, I could play if I just had a deck of cards. That would be my favorite game. Could not live without a deck of cards. I can play Rummy. I can play Solitaire. I can play Euchre. I can play. I am a card game through and
Mm.
through. I play all the things: gin, Rummy, spades, hearts, euchre, pinochle, anything. A deck of cards. I can keep myself entertained.
I love euchre.
Oh,
In
I'm
high
so
school,
good.
we used to play all the time. Like
Yeah.
at friends' houses, someone always had a euchre deck in their pocket. Like we went on the guys trip we went on 2 year almost 2 years ago now. Like we played euchre a lot there. It's so much fun, and I always tell people like euchre is really fun, and you always want your friends to play. If they don't know how to play, you don't want to teach them because it's so
No,
frustrating.
no. And there is just like anything where if I'm calling if I'm calling Trump and my partner has the lead, you better show me your highest trump. You better show me what you bring to the party.
I never
And
understand why people hold on to those.
right.
Yeah.
And if you don't have anything, this is your cue, and this is only if you have the lead. You are left to the dealer, and I called it. Your lead, if you lead something low and offsuit, I know I'm by myself.
Uh,
I know you have nothing. So then if it comes back around and my right bower and your left bower come out, I'm mad at you. Like I was trying to control the whole thing
okay. Okay.
because you showed me a nine of diamonds kind of thing.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. And so everything is situational because in growing up in my household, if you I was always around cards. My grandparents had clubs. They just called it club, and they'd come over and they would drink cocktails and they would eat a bunch of snacks and they'd play cards with all their friends.
Yeah.
And they did it once a month. And if you could put your chin on the table, you could that was always their thing. Kids can't play, but until you put your chin on the table, we can't teach you this game. I was a tall kid. I'm still a tall person. My chin was on that table at like 6.
Hmm.
So I learned card games really early on, and I just master. You take them camping during COVID. Everyone had to find. I would have probably only had the ability to teach someone how to play euchre if it was like during COVID when we were all like, you had the time, you had to be there, you weren't pressed for anything. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. I hardly ever play it now, because no one knows how. I tried to teach Andrea several times.
yeah,
She probably has like super basics, but um, it's 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 frustrating when you're like. It sounds terrible to say, but like when you're trying to play, like you want to play the game, and then like every hand, you're like, all right, well, did you have a diamond? Because that was Trump, and like you got to like go through all this stuff. So
yeah.
it's frustrating, but when you get it, like I don't even remember when being taught. At some point, my friends taught me because I didn't know until I started hanging out with my friends in high school. I had no idea what euchre was. So when I don't remember being taught how to do it. At some point, someone was like, "Yeah, we could teach them," and they were okay with it. And now I'm just like, "Nah, I'm cool. I don't want to teach you."
Or I was in a euchre tournament where my partner, I'm all about confidence and being aggressive, but my partner would call it on a garbage, like give me a chance to try and call it.
Yeah.
Um, no, he called it on everything. I didn't do well in a euchre tournament where there's 40 other people and you have a different partner every time because like I said earlier, I am a Robin. I'm not a Batman. I cannot carry a dud. Like
Uh.
I I can't I can't be the one who has to be like the leader. Um, now if so I'm always the helping. Like I can make you look better because of how great I'm gonna be, but I can't do it if you
I
don't
would.
know it.
Yeah. I got into poker for a while too, like Texas Hold'em, where I would like me and my buddies would play it a lot in our friends' basements and stuff, and I got to a point where I would like go to tournaments
Oh wow.
and just around here, like nothing gigantic, but I would look on Facebook and look on the internet for like the local tournaments and stuff and go to them. I went to a few and but it was I really liked Texas Hold'em too. That was a game that we would play a lot, and we would play for actual money, but it was like, all right, everyone put in $5 and then whoever wins it all, on a Friday night or whatever.
The poker, I play Texas Hold'em too. I am not good, but one of the best things is um being a woman at the only woman at a table, or I would do a $20 buy-in, you all get the same chip stack.
Mm-hmm.
And I would be like, what color is this again? Like I don't the numbers, I don't care. The blue is worth more, the yellow, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Um, so I would put in, and then like a few hands go by or a few rounds go by, and they're like, you put a blue in. I'm like, yeah, I know. No one ever get, they don't say that to each other, but then you also get like, I'll ask questions. I don't know how to like bluff or how to, you have to throw it in every once in a while, but truly I'm not, I don't know poker well enough, and I don't know when to like, when you are a big blind or a small blind or whatever it is, where your strategy changes.
Mm.
Or when you should call, like, oh, you could have called there, but instead you raised. Well, here you should have raised to draw them out. Oh, I know none of the strategy behind poker, but I'm there to have a good time and you can have my
Yeah.
$20. And a lot of the poker tournaments, like you in the area that I've been to, I love when there's a theme and you get a bounty. I like when there is, like, if you dress up for Halloween, you go to a Halloween one, you get a $5 bounty. So if take someone's chips, you went all in, you got theirs, you get their $5 bounty. You automatically have $5. No one can take that bounty away from you. So I do like, or if I went to one where it was like for charity. And if you brought a dish for a potluck, you got an automatic $5 bounty. And that just makes things like a little more interesting. I said, well, I'll bring 15 things. Do I get everybody's back? Because you know that I can't just, I always go a little overboard when it goes.
A little.
A
Yeah.
little.
Yeah. Have you done like any euchre tournaments or anything recently? Anything like that?
No.
No.
I would love to.
Yeah.
But I found that it's harder to get people together as of, I don't know if it's just the time of year or if there's truly a lot of people I'm surrounded by have kids in sports and then I'm in sports and yeah, it's just hard getting people together.
I just looked it up now.
Mhm.
There is a Facebook group, Euchre Club of Toledo.
Mm.
Um, that I'm sure my phone is being slow, but I'm sure they have tournaments there.
Yeah,
But
and I would never show up. I would go. I If you and I were going to a euchre tournament together, you'd have to be there first. You'd have to wait and walk in with me. I will not walk into a crowded room and look for somebody. Like it is
really?
absolutely not. I can't even stand walking into a restaurant. I know I'm meeting somebody for like drinks or whatever. If I have to go to the bar, if I do one lap around and I do not find you,
You're out.
I'm leaving. One lap. You get one lap. Because then I look like the girl who one, I don't want to look like I'm stood up or make weird eye contact with somebody. Um, yeah, no. Mm-mm. We have to walk in together or you have to come and meet me at the door.
Okay.
Yeah, where's the parking? I'm going to park right next to you.
Well, this club looks like it's a newer thing. It's like a couple hundred followers. Um, yeah, they have some of them where it's 35 players, but a lot of them are like 15 players to like they always say it looks like it's weekly and they're like, oh, 15 players today, 19 players today. So it's like it's just a club. Yeah, that's cool.
The best thing about a tournament style in euchre is you can't be a solid team. You're getting broken up. Like winners stay on tables traditionally at a four top table. Winners stay and then just they're not each other's partner next time. And losers move. And that's sort of how that eventually comes down to a final table.
So, so if we decided like, hey, we're gonna go do this euchre tournament, we would just never play with each other.
No, it's a random draw. We might like if you
Oh,
win and I win, or if tables start shifting or whatever it is, we might end up together, but we can't you can't bring a dominant team because in
got it.
those style euchre tournaments they are because you might have think about it if I was hosting a tournament and two people came and they're just like they might have signals, they might be shady, like you never
Yeah.
truly know,
Table
especially
talk.
yeah, especially in euchre because there are so many. You can have some like signs. I was in a poker tournament where it was a husband and wife were also in it, and people were like telling them they were like showing each other or chip dumping. I'm like, no, they're not. They're not chip. I never even considered chip dumping was a thing.
Yeah.
So
What is chip dumping?
so if you're a low chip stack and your partner or husband, wife, girlfriend, whatever it is,
Yeah.
the person you're with is getting low, then you on a hand, it would get down to like you two are head to head, and then
Mm-hmm.
you'd fold, or then
Oh,
you'd get head
okay.
to head with that person and then go all in. So
Yeah.
you're giving them your stack because they're the better player, and then at the end of the day, you would be more likely to walk away with the pot versus someone who is not doing as well.
Got it.
Yeah.
Let's go back to this thing of you not being able to go into a place by yourself.
Okay.
Um, I never thought about it because I mean I do it a lot where I'm like, all right, I mean someone I'll look, oh there he or she is. Okay, whatever. What is it that makes you like, all right, if we're meeting up somewhere, I got to like we got to meet up outside of the facility that we're going.
I this is gonna take a turn, but I'm happy to share.
Okay,
Um,
okay.
so previous uh I would like to think I have like a bubbly personality, like a um, but going it when I was heavy and I would want to take up as little space as possible, but obviously
Mm,
a lot of times I was the biggest person in the room. So when I would walk into a place that's crowded, one, I'm thinking, do I fit between like scurrying between people or like
mm,
between two chairs that are back to back or like a stadium? Oh God, I could never. I could never not be on the end because I would not crawl over people
yeah.
as a big heavy person. And so my brain still thinks that I'm taking up too much space. Can I really walk around a crowd and not upset people for being like if I knock into them because I don't fit somewhere or if
Hmm.
I just it like the looks you would get you would always think they were negative. So when I'm searching a whole facility for somebody, I would always think, oh my gosh, they're looking at my clothes are ill fitting. Are they looking at like something on my face? I would always go to like negative self talk.
Mm,
And now I can appear more confident and I can, like I truly am working on it, but it doesn't come naturally. It's not authentic for me. I have to truly think about it. Like, no, you're not taking up a ton of space. You're not interrupting people. You're not, it's not a bad thing. So it's hard to just walk in and look around. Well, also, you're like 6 foot a lot. So, like, when you look in, you can
just
find
two.
people just to, you can look in and find people. And I want like runway lights to wherever you're at. Give me a direct path where the least amount of people have to see me.
Yeah. Well, if
Yes.
we ever meet out somewhere, I want to be in the back corner, tucked in there. Like, you got to come find me, Jamie Lynn. Sorry.
Marco,
I mean,
you better polo.
oh man.
Yes. Yeah.
Uh, all right. I like it's like this is gonna take a turn.
Well,
It wasn't
I'm
bad.
still
It was a slight
okay.
turn. We were right. Yeah.
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 Yeah. It is.
All right. Oh. I hear one of my children crying, and
Oh,
it's probably my daughter, and they're probably fighting about something. Um, but I think she'll survive. She's tough. We got a few more minutes here.
okay.
I do want to talk to you because we just talked on, I don't know if it was maybe Friday or Thursday, about you coming on the podcast.
Yeah.
And I think, and again, you can decide to talk. You mentioned it a few times. Um, you mentioned your weight loss to me, and then when I saw a video you posted, I was like, man, that like, yes, it was, yes, you did lose weight, but it was it's more than when you talk about it. It's like, yeah, I used to be heavy and I lost this weight. It makes
Yeah.
it sound like you lost 25 pounds, but it was an extreme. To me, it was an extreme. I don't know how you would
Oh,
describe it, but
yeah.
well, what led to that? Because it is a, to me, it's a complete mind shift from that Jamie Lynn to this Jamie Lynn, and I didn't know that Jamie Lynn. I just know this one. So like, what led to that? Because I think it's important to me. I think it's an important story to tell. You might think otherwise, but I think it's an important and cool story.
Yeah. Actually, I was just watching football, college football, and they're like this 318-pound lineman. And I had said before they announced his weight, because when you're a lineman, like, you want to be big and tough and
Yeah.
all this. Um, before they even mentioned his weight, I said to my girlfriend sitting next to me, I was like, dang, that's a big guy. Like, that's gonna be a hard hit. If he gets that quarterback wrapped up, like, ow, you know? And
Mm,
just a few seconds later, they're like a 318-pound. And all I can think is I was 40 pounds heavier than that.
really?
I was 40 pounds heavier. So when I'm like, that's a big man, and I know it's like, it's just the number. And uh, I don't, I don't see, I never like, saw myself as like a lineman on a football, like on a football field. I never saw like that until, like you said, it until you see if the video, like the comparison,
Mm.
because it's obviously it's a gradual loss. So when I would see people, I lost my first 50 pounds prior to COVID. And that's why it's so dramatic for people like for like you who didn't see me at all, for 2 years, you never saw me. And then I come back, and I had continued to keep losing. So that's why it was dramatic for
That's why talking to Chad and Wade were the ones that really, because they were there. Like I don't remember when I met you, but it was I came to the parks during COVID, so it was,
right.
I would talk to you and email you more than because I would never see you. But hearing Chad and Wade, like I think when you first came back, they're like, who's that? Like they didn't
They
even
thought
know.
they thought I was like a new hire.
Yeah.
Actually, the funniest story about coming back is, well, one, a lot of men, respectfully, they don't want to mention it. They don't want
Mhm.
to be like, "Oh my God, you look so great," or like, "Good job." Women, woman to woman, they could just be like, "Keep up what you're doing. You look so great." But there is, especially like your colleagues, what can they say? What are they
Mhm.
gonna upset me? Um, and Chad and Wade adored my personality before, like they never made me feel as big as I was
Sure.
because they said I brought light to the office. And it was always, they would always come in and say, like, it's so refreshing to come and talk to you throughout my day. And that was prior to like losing weight.
Yeah.
And they still loved that version of me. And they know nothing changed. I'm still the exact same, like, person in the office. It's just I'm physically different. But Dave, when I was
Oh
wearing,
no.
we were wearing masks. I had adult braces too. Did you remember me having adult braces? Not
I don't
only
I don't
I was,
remember.
yeah, I not only was I 355 pounds, I had braces. Like I, but then we went to masks and Dave walks in and I'm sitting at my desk. This is 2 years later. Okay.
Yeah.
So like COVID's already done and gone. I'm back in the office 2 years after my weight, I had been losing weight for 2 years. I don't have a mask on. And he walks in, head down, hello, hello, goes and gets keys. Okay, hey, I said, Dave, I don't have any Coke, but I have some candy if you want anything. And he looks back and he goes, like his eyes get big. He goes, Jamie? I said, I said, what's up, Dave? Like, so good to see you.
Yeah.
He goes, straight up, I didn't recognize you. And I think my face must have said something because then he went, you don't have braces anymore. Said, yeah, that's it.
That's the thing.
That's the thing. I didn't lose 150 pounds. I just don't have braces. But like, I could tell he was like uncomfortable even mentioning it or like showing. A lot of people after like, coming back, like people I work with, people in my real life knew I was losing it. And uh, I'm not that person who was like posting workout videos, but I did record them and it was for my own journey. Like, just like all the podcasts I've made, I have weeks and weeks and weeks of football comparisons and it's just for me. And I do go back and I do re-listen to them. And that's how it was with losing weight. I was recording the workouts. I have the whole documentation of all the my fitness pal journaling I did
Mhm.
for that. And it's just to like be able to go back and look and see where I was. But then when I posted on Instagram a video of like it was like my 2 years
Yeah.
difference. The only reason I posted it is because I control my social media. I'm not a public, I'm not an open, page.
It's a private page.
So
Yeah.
it's a private page. Everyone already knew me. I thought, you know what, I'm just gonna post this. And I did do it for myself, but also, of course, I wanted people to see it. Like a part of me
Hmm.
is like, yeah, I want people to see that. Like, so I posted, it was just me talking, and it was just a year. There was an audio that said, the first place you're gonna lose weight is gonna be your face. And then that's what the audio was. And that was the first time I've ever done like a video over a trending audio. And had I had an open page, I'm sure it would, that comparison, like those two difference, people not even knowing me, like that would have blown up. It would have got a ton of likes. It would have been super popular and trending. But it was just my people, and then people would I know in my personal life would message me and be like, I didn't realize how dramatic it that was always the consensus. I didn't realize how dramatic it was because I never saw you that big. Like I never,
Mm.
and it sucks to say that. And I know it's not easy to say, but it's really refreshing that you and my colleagues, you guys never saw me for, you never were like, oh, Jami Lynn, she's heavy. It
Yeah.
was always like Jami Lynn, she brings so much joy to the office. She's always smiling. She's so positive. If and that's one thing and I know I've talked to you about this and I like talking to people about that is the descriptors we use for people to describe someone to someone else is very hurtful. Like it can
Mm.
be when I say, oh yeah, Lorenzo, they're like, no, I'm not sure. I'm not gonna say any negative flaws about you. I'm gonna say the basic, when you're but it's always going to be your physical when you're trying to give someone a picture of someone. I'm not going to be
Mm.
like he's awesome, he's super funny. that's not
How does that
that's
help?
not going to help
Yeah.
them. That's not going to
Yeah.
help them put a face to it. So I would say things like he has a beard, he's tall, he's bald, like that
Yeah.
sort of thing, so people can picture you. And I never wanted to ever hear someone try and describe me to someone else
Mm.
because I knew it would be like, oh, she's heavy, she's brown hair, she's this, that, and the other. And my, when people describe me now, I still absolutely hate it. But hearing people who have never known me heavy, like never knew that Jami Lynn, they just met me. I still say things like, um, about weight. Like I'm still like
Hmm.
just super, and I'll say things like, oh, I'm not super thin. So, and they're like, you're thin. Like, what do you mean you're not? Or I'm like, oh, I'm heavy or whatever. I'm not where I want to be. They're like, what, why, what was the
Yeah.
difference? Like, what, so I hate descriptors when it comes to having to picture somebody because I knew my weight would always be the number one thing. And now I still am, I just assume automatically when someone needs a picture of me, to someone else, they're going to talk about my weight. And I hate it. I hate it, hate it. I wish we could use descriptors that are, but you can't say, oh, she has dimples or she has a crooked smile or she has a ball nose because only people who know me
A
know
ball
those
nose.
features. Yeah, I do.
I know, but I never heard that phrase before.
Yeah. But
Ball
it's
nose.
it's people who pay attention to your features, not someone
Yeah.
you see in passing. So in passing, I knew
Yeah.
I was the heavy girl and I knew all that, but my friends who can describe me in other ways would never use weight as a descriptor for me.
Hmm.
So they
Well,
didn't see it.
yeah, yeah. Again, yeah. Well, they didn't see it, and also it's like, well, you're just being. You want to be kind to your friend. Like you're not going to describe someone that you
Yeah.
like a certain way. You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's like if it's someone that's a terrible human, you say, the guy that's the tiny guy who's 5'2" and he weighs 500 pounds. Like you're going to describe him that way because you don't like him, but you try to be.
Yeah.
You want to be accommodated. You want like because in some instances when you're describing somebody to someone, that's their first chance to hear what this person is or how they who they are and that kind of stuff. And if it's all
Yeah.
negative stuff right away, that new person's going to be like, oh, do I want to know this person?
Yeah. And what really started it for me, what helped, honestly, I know it was a lot for a lot of people and it was for me too, but actually being hidden and not sharing that I was trying to lose weight because I had been heavy my whole life. I never, I didn't play sports. I was never athletic. Um, in college, I rapidly put on weight. I put on 100
Mm.
pounds in college. Being on a meal plan, freshman 15, no, it was like college 100. Like I put on a ton of weight. And it was being able to do it privately where no one was like I wasn't held accountable. And I know accountability really works for people and it does to
Yeah.
have someone to share accountability with. And it is for a lot of people. It was not for me because if people, I had no problem having a cheat meal when no one knew about it. But if I was sharing that with somebody, then I was using food as punishment. And that's where I had
Mm.
tried all the diets. I had tried all the things for many, many years. And then when COVID hit, I could not go out to eat. My downfall was not that I wasn't trying to be active. It was absolutely nutrition. I ate like trash all the
Mm.
time. And I always went out. I never made a home cooked meal. I was just, my calories were through the roof. And so COVID, when I couldn't have those things, I could only have what I put in my home. And that's when I cleaned out the house, like cleaned everything out. And you couldn't get anything outside of your own home. So the only excuse was to prepare meals that are good for your body and nourishing for your body. And also, I really wanted to have kids, and all doctors would say is like lose weight and let's see where you're at with that. And
Yeah.
it was always like, I know I told you you have a headache, but if you lost 20 pounds, maybe that headache, would go away. So it was just doing it by myself and privately, I guess.
How do you feel mentally?
Honestly, I felt like I was mentally clearer uh in the past
Okay.
because I could blame my weight on everything. I
Mm.
could,
As a
I
built-in
also,
excuse.
it was a built-in excuse. Oh, can't go there. Whatever. I always had an excuse. And now I see potential, and I know I can achieve it, and it's going to be hard work and it's going to be that, but I've already done a ton of hard work.
Mhm.
Um, Actually, I am more aware. I am mentally not as clear, like the clarity isn't there, but because I feel so physically great, it just puts you in a good headspace. But I could never be a runner because that's too much time to just like, I don't listen to music. I do like podcasts, and those are engaging, or like a book, but no, I think the physical is currently outweighing the mental, but the mental is very what like the person I see in the mirror isn't it's not any different, and that's really hard.
Mhm.
Accepting compliments, absolutely not.
That's a hard thing for a lot of people. Yeah.
If you compliment my um like my knowledge, or like anything like that, or anything else about me that's not physical, I will accept it. I will be thankful. But the moment you accept or you compliment anything about my physical, mm-mm, I shut down. I don't accept it. I start getting weird. Er,
Well, I learned the hard way a few times when I asked questions and pointed some things out, but you set me straight.
I say you straight.
Well,
But
I also
we
came at it as asking questions as opposed to saying, this, that, the other.
yes, and I actually, it's not that I don't like compliments. Of course I like compliments.
Sure.
But if your mind is telling you one thing and then someone else, um but I actually really enjoy, and I was just telling Jeffrey about it, is I really enjoy that I told you something and you fix it. Like when you notice you're gonna do it, um,
Oh,
that you fix it. And it's like I can have that open, honest communication with Lorenzo, and he's not gonna be upset with me. Because some people, if I would say that to them, they'd be like, wow, never talking to you again. Like,
yeah, yeah,
you're no, but to be able to, I don't want to call it a boundary, but like a preference.
yeah.
Uh yeah, and so I blush when I'm embarrassed,
And
or
I
when
pointed it out, and you
and you
yelled at me. So no, no, you did. I'm just playing.
I'm not a yeller.
I, I, I don't know what it is. I pick up people's, for lack of a better term, like their thing that they do or how they speak or their mannerisms. I'm like, I don't know if I'm like hyper aware of it, and I instantly
Yes.
pick it up. Like something Andrea does is she will say, like, when she's done with the conversation, which I'm sure a lot of people do, she'll just be like, all right, and then like that kind of signals the end of the conversation, but she does it in an English accent, and I don't
Oh,
know why.
right.
Yeah, and you know who else does that? And if you ever pay attention, Emily does that too.
Does she?
That, and she'll just be like, all right, thank you for that, or what, like that's just but like that's a more obvious one, but people do a lot of things like what were Smalley's things? Smalley had one where he there's a phrase that he would say all the time, and I can't remember what it was, but I instantly picked it up. And when Ryan was there, I asked him about it, and he's like, I never noticed that. I go, really? I go, he says it all the time. And
Yes.
now because he doesn't work there, I don't hear it anymore, but eventually it'll come to me. But yeah, like I and I don't know if it's a fault thing, because then I'll point out to people like, I do that really, and then like it's in their head now.
Oh, yeah. And you're hyper aware of it, but do you ever pick up other people's mannerisms because they say it so much? Do you catch yourself also doing it?
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes, yeah.
Yeah. We merge into like one person. And yes, I do also think you are very hyper aware of people, but I think it's a good thing. I think it is you make people feel like an individual, or like you make them feel like you actually care. I think it shows, what's the saying, like, oh, it really is the small things.
Oh yeah, yeah.
It truly is the small things. But yeah, I also, about accents, only if I truly, truly am comfortable, my 100% authentic self, you're getting all the accents, all of them, like that. That's a thing. It's a thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, because you let down all those walls and
Oh yeah.
everything can flood out, you know.
Yeah. You let your weird show.
You have all these ideas for shirts.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
All right. Well, oh, is that a cat roaming around?
That is my Pearson cat.
Oh, the one you
Yep.
got from Pearson.
Yep.
What's its name?
His name is Hank.
Hank.
Off of Marvel. All of my animals are named from Marvel. Do you know? Please tell me you know who Hank is from the Marvel universe. You have two options. I will accept both.
Hank.
Mhm.
That it doesn't ring a bell at all. At
Okay.
all. I mean, I'm not super into Marvel. I mean, I watch the movies, but yeah, I
That's
don't
a
know.
whole nother things you're nerding out about. We could Hank Pym is from Ant-Man. He is
Oh,
Ant-Man.
he's yes. Okay, now okay. Yes.
And then Hank from Beast from X-Men. So I
Oh,
would
I
have
didn't know that
accepted.
one. I didn't
Yeah.
know
Well,
that
his
one.
name's Henry, but he goes by Hank.
Okay. All
Well, he
right.
goes by Beast, truly, in his natural form. Told you we
Okay.
could go on and on.
Well, that'll be a separate podcast.
Yeah.
All right, Jami Lynn. Well, I do appreciate you coming on, and I enjoy you being in office because I like talking to you. Sometimes I'll get myself in trouble because we talk too much and I got
We do.
stuff to do. But I do appreciate you being there. You're not only are you very helpful just with park stuff, but it's just nice to be able to talk to a friend at work when we can talk about whatever. Because it's I don't think work should always be about work, right? Sometimes you still should have like moments that are outside of work where you can talk for 10 minutes and then like, all right, I got to go back and answer my emails or whatever. So thanks for that too.
Yeah. I like when we can cut things off and neither one of us are like upset. It's like, oh, we just got to cut it off because
Yeah,
we have to work.
it happens quite a bit, but you're
It
right.
does.
It is a very fluid thing without us even saying anything. It's
Mhm.
like the phone's ringing. I'm like, all right, I know I'm out of here because you're on the phone. Or
Yeah.
like, you know, when we are, it's our conversations could go on all day.
Yes.
But at some point they got to end, and it's just like there will be another picking up point where we can continue this conversation, and we're just like, all right, I gotta go. We'll see
No
you.
hard feelings. You just turn the corner. No
Yeah.
hard feelings. Bye.
Yep. But
He'll
now we
come
have
back.
those intercoms. So
Yes.
but thanks for coming on the podcast today, Jami Lynn.
I am happy I came and wasn't I didn't let my nerves win. I was really excited actually.
And we do. I am serious. If we can come up with some idea, something that we could podcast about. I did just Google podcast or board game podcast, and one of the headlines was the 70 best board game podcasts you must follow. 70.
When you think you're special, don't ever think you're special because you are not.
Oh, that is a lot.
Yeah.
But we'll figure something out. But thanks again.
Of course.
Thanks again to Jami Lynn for coming on the podcast today. A lot of nerding out. She's a super nerd on a lot of stuff, which we have talked many, many times in the office about it. But again, like just knowing all these other little things about her, hearing about her weight loss, I think, like I said in the podcast, it's an important thing for people to understand, and to understand that just because you lose weight doesn't mean mentally you're ready for everything else. So it's a long process, but she's a strong person. She's going through it, and it was good and I appreciate her sharing her story because again, it's important for people to hear that kind of stuff. Check out our Facebook page, our Instagram, everything, TikTok. I got to start making more TikTok videos. It's not something I do. So hopefully I can start doing that again. So I'll just time-based and me not being lazy. So I'm looking forward to possibly doing that. Be nice if I could like get someone just to do it for free, but I don't think people are just going to offer their services. I do get random emails from companies say, hey, we can do this for you. Try this free trial. And then it's like $200 a month or something. And I'm like, I make $0 on this right now. So I can't be spending money. So I just got to do the work myself. That's how we're going to get this podcast big, is by doing that kind of stuff. So again, appreciate all of you. Thanks for always listening and downloading the podcast. It means the world to me and to everyone over here at the Nerdball Podcast and the Nerdball Network. Always check out 3 Different Dads. Reach the mailbag there at 3differentdads@gmail.com. That's it. As always, thanks to Real JP Multimedia, Big Daddy Graphics, Perrysburg Junior High STEM Lab, and Cuttlefish Graphics for always helping out the podcast. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.